Yay. I'm waiting for people to come in. So I'm going to give it until 5:15. Jalen, I'm happy to have you here. However, you might not need to be here because I'm just rereading the stories from today. So you're welcome to be here. That's fine. But I don't know if you'll need to be here. Other people, I have no idea who you are yet. I don't know how to see that. I just know Jalen because it pops up in my chat. I wonder what that symbol means then. I thought that was people watching me. Maybe it's not. Really? That surprises me. Can you tell me who you are, student? Huh. That's strange, Damien. I don't know why that is. If you're gonna chat, can you let me know who you are if you're using a not real name? Thank you. I think I have 8 people watching. I'm gonna give it 2 more minutes though, until 5:15, and then I'll start talking. Hello. Oh, wait, I gotta put the link in. Send now. Okay. I don't like being on camera. I'm going to give it another minute so the people have a chance to come in. Once again, if you're in 6A, I mean, I'm happy to have you, but I don't necessarily know that you need to be here. You can be, but I read these stories to your class. I didn't get to do that for 6B because they were talking. So if you were paying attention as I was reading out the stories, you've already heard these stories, but you're welcome to be here for sure. That's fine. Account that's uh, Lucia? No, not Lucia. Lucelia? Who is that? I'm happy you're doing short stories, people. But oh, thank you, Gio. But what I will say is you have an ELA test. Your short story is due on Friday. Your ELA test is due tomorrow. So if you prioritize things, you might want to make sure that you are doing your ELA stuff for your test rather than a short story that's due in a week. Because you have a whole week to do that. And you have 1 day before your test. So the short story is due, your draft of it is due on Friday. You have to have 300 words of it done on Tuesday. So 300 words at least due on Tuesday. And then your test is tomorrow. 300 words might sound like a lot, but it's not, because the test is going to go quick. So you'll very quickly see, hey, this doesn't take that much time. I cannot believe 19 of you are here. That blows my mind. Okay. We're gonna start reading up though. The landlord's mistake. If you have a word that you would like to ask me about, write it up in the chat. I feel like a YouTuber, even though I'm not. I'm gonna start going from the beginning of the story because it's easier that way. But I'm gonna go kind of quickly because I know most of you don't really need to do that. So right now, I'll give you a minute to take out your ELA study guide and open it to page 2. You're welcome to be here, Sebastian. The question is just if you don't need to hear me read the text, you don't have to be here. You don't have to be here no matter what. How long do you have on the test? It's a class period. So an hour for 6A, for 6B, if you need, it's an hour. So it's the same amount of time as the other test. Will I have time to work on it tomorrow, the test? Or the test is tomorrow? If you really need to work on the test during when, maybe, but you shouldn't plan on that. I mean, yes, you'll probably be able to, but you shouldn't plan based on that. Plan to finish it in an hour, but that shouldn't be too hard because the nature of the test is such that you'll kind of either know the answer or not, I think. Ethan, you need to get over the turtle. Okay, so, I mean, you can mourn the turtle, but you need to stop talking about the turtle. All right, we're going to get going on The Landlord's Mistake from 50 Famous People, a book of short stories by James Baldwin. James Baldwin, extremely important writer from the Harlem Renaissance. He is known primarily for writing about the African American experience, and he's also a gay author, so really not common. All right. When John Adams was president and Thomas Jefferson was vice president of the United States, there was not a railroad in all the world. Turn to the next page. People did not travel very much. There were no broad, smooth highways as there are now. The roads were crooked and muddy and rough. If a man was obliged to go from one city to another, he often rode on horseback. Instead of a trunk for his clothing, he carried a pair of saddlebags. Instead of sitting at ease in a parlor car, he went jolting along through mud and mire, exposed to wind and weather. Okay, what words do you not know? Other than counting, what words do you not know? Saddlebag. A saddlebag. So a saddlebag is a bag that literally sits on the saddle of a horse saddle. So literally it's where people used to sit on their horse, and there would be little bags extending out because they don't have anywhere else to put any of their stuff. I'm going to scoot over here because the sun is in my eyes. Okay, that's even worse. All right, broad. Did I say broad? Oh yeah, broad means wide. Broad means wide. So, Camilo, that answers your question. Obliged, Sebastian, obliged means forced. So obliged to do something means you're forced to do something. A parlor car is not like a trunk. No, Jalen, good guess. Because you're remembering what I said. A parlor car, though, is like a sitting room. So a parlor is a sitting room. And a parlor car is like a sitting room of a train. So in other words, it's a passenger car of a train where you just kind of sit there. He used parlor mainly to get across the comfort that you experience in comparison to going on a horseback and riding through the bad weather and mud and mire. Okay. All right. So continuing on from there, does anyone have any other questions about this? A trunk, though, is a suitcase. In this case, a trunk is a suitcase in this story. Trunk could also be at the back of a car, but in this case, it's a suitcase. Something about Thomas Jefferson's political philosophy, Ethan, but you'll find that out later. Okay, next paragraph, though. So on one day, some men. Do you need me to go over mire, though? Mire. Mire is like a swampy area, like deep mud. One day, some men were sitting by the door of a hotel in Baltimore. As they looked down the street, they saw a horseman coming. He was riding very slowly, and both he and his horse were bespattered with mud. Bespattered just means spattered, covered with, bespattered. So bespattered with mud. There comes old Farmer Mossback, said one of the men, laughing. He's just in from the backwoods. So a mossback, as it says in your study guide, was a generic term or a general term for anyone who lived in the country. So, in other words, you're saying, there's that country guy, there's that guy that lives in the country, said one of the men, laughing. He's just in from the backwoods. He seems to have had a hard time of it, said another. I wonder where he'll put up for the night. Oh, any kind of place will suit him, answered the landlord. He's one of those country fellas who can sleep in the haymow and eat with the horses. What words do you not know? Oops. What words do you not know? Other than posting emojis, what words do you not know? Haymaw. Which I'm guessing what you meant to say, Damien, instead of Harlow. Haymaw. Haymaw is literally a big bundle of hay. So you can think about like if you've ever been to a pumpkin patch. So it's like one of those little bunches of hay. So that's what a haymaw is. A haymaw is like a little bundle of hay. So essentially what they're saying is he can sleep anywhere. He can even sleep in the hay. That's kind of what they're saying with this. Any other words? No? Okay. So moving on then. The traveler was soon at the door. He was dressed plainly, and with his reddish brown hair and mud bespattered face, looked like a hard-working countryman just in from the backwoods. Fellow? In this case, fellow means man. In this case, fellow means man. So it's like saying that guy. Okay. Continuing on though. Where was I? Oh. Have you a room here for me? He asked the landlord. Now the landlord prided himself upon keeping a first-class hotel, and he feared that his guests would not like the rough-looking traveler. So he answered, "No, sir, every room is full. The only place I could put you would be in the barn." Does anyone have any questions about about any of those words? Are there any words you want to go over? How did I get to 36 people? I don't know. Is there any questions about this? Any words you don't know? Prided. Good question. So prided, you hopefully know, because pride, like pride store, pride, to be proud of your work. So if you're proud of your work, that means that you are happy with the work you've done. So if you pride yourself on something, that means you are proud of yourself for that kind of work. So you are proud, so you're happy with the ability that you have. So in this case, he prided himself in keeping a first-class hotel. He was confident about how he dealt with that, about the fact that his hotel was like really classy, it was really fancy. Some of these comments I'm just not getting, but whatever. I'm not Gen Alpha. All right. Continuing on. So now the landlord prided himself on keeping a first-class hotel. So he was proud of the fact that his hotel was for rich people. And now he doesn't want a whole bunch of people coming in who are not classy, who are not fancy. So he's essentially saying, I don't want you here because you look too rough. So therefore, let's put you instead in the barn. Well then, answered the stranger, I will see what they can do for me at the Planter's Tavern round the corner. And he rode away. About an hour later, a well-dressed gentleman came into the hotel and said, I wish to see Mr. Jefferson. Mr. Jefferson, said the landlord. Before I turn the page, is there any words you don't know? I'll give it a sec, and then I'm going to move on. It sounds like the answer is no. So I'm going to move on. Yeah, okay. A tavern, maybe. Tavern. tavern is like a, today you would think of a tavern as a bar. Back then, a tavern could be either a bar or a place where you could stay overnight. All right, next page, page 4. Yes, sir. Thomas Jefferson, the Vice President of the United States. He isn't here. Oh, but he must be. I met him as he rode into town, and he said that he intended to stop at this hotel. He has been here in about an hour. No, he hasn't. The only man that has been here for lodging today was an old clodhopper who was so spattered with mud that you couldn't see the color of his coat. I sent him round to the planters. So here, the word that I know you don't know is clodhopper. Clodhopper. So a clodhopper, effectively, the closest definition would be a bumpkin. But because I know you don't know what a bumpkin is either, I think the best way to translate this would be probably a redneck. So someone from the country who doesn't really know what's going on. They might be clumsy. That's really what a clodhopper is, though. A clodhopper is like a redneck that might be kind of dumb. Is kind of the idea behind it. Why is today spelled weird? Great question. That's how it used to be spelled in the olden times. So they used to actually break it up with a dash. That's a good question. It's not going to change anything on your test, but that's interesting. All right. So next up. Did he have reddish brown hair? And did he ride a gray horse? Yes, and he was quite tall. That was Mr. Jefferson, said the gentleman. Mr. Jefferson, cried the landlord. Was that the vice president? Here, Dick, build a fire in the best room. Put everything in tip-top order. Sally, what a dunce I was to turn Mr. Jefferson away. He shall have all the rooms in this house. And the ladies' parlor, too. I'll go round to the planters and fetch him back. So he went to the other hotel, where he found the vice president sitting with some friends in the parlor. Mr. Jefferson, he said, I have come to ask your pardon. You were so bespattered with mud that I thought you were some old farmer. If you will come back to my house, you shall have the best room in it. Yes, and all the rooms if you wish. Won't you come? No, answered Mr. Jefferson. A farmer is as good as any other man. And where there's no room for a farmer, there can be no room for me. That is the story. That's our first story. So the first thing I want to ask you is there any words you don't know since I stopped last? Pardon, your forgiveness. So I'm here to beg you for forgiveness. It could also mean, excuse me, yeah. So you could say pardon me, but in this case it means forgiveness. Sebastian, I already answered bespattered because it's all throughout the test, but that's fine. Bespatter, or whoever is on the Sebastian account. So that means that it just means covered with mud. Any other words though? Yeah, he was mean. He was mean, but meanwhile, what he did was he essentially said, I don't want poor people in my hotel right now. This guy was covered with mud. They don't have modern showers at the time. So it's actually kind of logical. There's a lot of businesses. As a matter of fact, I would say the vast majority of hotels, if a homeless man came in and said, can I have a room? They might say no, because they don't want a homeless person staying at the hotel. But what if the homeless person is actually someone famous, like the vice president of America? Now, today that could never happen because the vice president of America has to have so much protection, but they didn't at the time. There was no Secret Service until the 1920s, I think. Okay. He was stereotyping. Yeah, he was kind of stereotyping. So that's kind of what we're getting at here is he was saying you look a certain way, so I'm not going to let you in. Okay. Lastly, there is a mistake that I did not do. It's not my mistake on your study guides. It is in the line, that was Mr. Jefferson, said the gentleman. Mr. Jefferson, cried the landlord. Whoa, something's missing. To make that make sense, what's missing? That was Mr. Jefferson, said the landlord. Mr. Jefferson, cried the landlord. Said the gentleman, Mr. Jefferson, cried. So not a comma, but you're close. Thank you, Jalen. Paragraph is part of it, yeah. So you do have to make a new paragraph because it's a new person talking. And with that, you also have to put a not a space, a period. Yeah, a period. So there should be a period after said the gentleman. Period. New paragraph. Mr. Jefferson, cried the landlord. There's a record of you saying that. We know. I think this is funny. Okay. I just think this medium is funny to do this on. All right, we're gonna read the last story and then we'll be pretty much done. So please turn to page 9. Langston Hughes, a unique voice. Are you saying no, you don't want to be done? I have tutoring, so I got to be done at some point. All right. So Langston Hughes, a unique voice. We're on page 9. As we hopefully remember, those little parentheses mean that there is that's the sentence number. Sorry, I get paid money to tutor people. Okay, so paragraph parentheses 1, Langston Hughes. All right, so Langston Hughes, an African-American writer, is well known for his portrayals of African-American life and culture during the early to mid-20th century. What words do we not know? I know there's one that some of us might not know. Apparently the crowns mean you're my top fan. I don't know what that means. But that's apparently what those mean. They seem random to me though, because you all have the same number of XP. Except, well, no, you don't. Some of you either have 75 or 50 or 25. I have no idea what determines that. Okay, in any case though. Oh, the text the most? Really? Interesting. I'm not really a YouTube Live person usually. All right, in any case though. So 20th century, I think you know, means in the 1900s. Portrayals though. Portrayal means a depiction of. So a presentation of. In other words, he is well known for the way he showed African American life and culture during the early to mid 20th century. It was during this time that the Harlem Renaissance emerged and began to be the start of something important. So a renaissance is a return to greatness. That's what renaissance really means. Hey, focus. Focus. It makes it harder for people to stay focused when you fill the chat like that. Might have to put on time limits for this. That's what I'm going to do in the future. Like a 10-second time wait period. Okay. So it was during this time that the Harlem Renaissance emerged and began to be the start of something important. So the Harlem Renaissance we talked about before, it means it's this time in the 1920s and 30s when Harlem, a part of New York, exploded with culture and from the Black community. Really important time for literature. So portrayal just means showing, so depicting people, and Renaissance means return to greatness. Okay. Over time, the movement over time, the movement came to be regarded as the foundation for African American creative arts, and Hughes's short stories, plays, and poetry are known as some of the best works of the Harlem Renaissance. I think you know all those words. Sentence 4. Hughes's writings celebrated African American culture and the arts. At the same time, it vividly illustrated the everyday life of African American people, complete with the joys and the sufferings. Hughes frequently used humor and everyday language in his writing, which helped to convey the seriousness of his messages to a wide audience. For those of you who forget, or who forgot, Langston Hughes wrote, "Thank you, ma'am." Convey. Convey means to get your point across. So if you need to convey something, it means you're explaining something so that other people can understand. Convey. I'm conveying some information to you right now. Convey. Renaissance, I already said it was a return to greatness. Foundation. A foundation means the basis for. So like the bottom of the thing that everything else is built upon. We get the word founded from that. Yes, that's correct. So telling someone something, telling someone something to someone is pretty much convey. Yeah. Okay. Do we know what humor is? I think we do. Do we know what suffering means? I think we do. Vividly, I know you know because it was in your study guide from the first ELA test. So vividly means like brightly or colorfully, but in this case it means clearly, descriptively. Sentence 7. Harlem's vibrant arts movement drew Hughes to New York City in the 1920s, yet it had a major impact on his work. Hughes used stories, plays, and poetry to address the ideas, themes, and attitudes he saw in the culture of Harlem and in African American communities across the United States. His work was extremely popular during his lifetime and helped break down racial stereotypes. So my guesses of words you don't know is going to be vibrant and stereotypes. Vibrant means, again, very similar to vivid. I guess a little bit less on descriptive though, and more of like colorful. So bright, colorful, usually quite a positive thing. Stereotypes and racial. So racial means regarding race, of or relating to race. Like races in like black, white, Asian, Hispanic. Those would be races. Technically Hispanic would be a race, it's a language. But Latino would be a race or an ethnicity. I guess it's really an ethnicity rather than a race. But in any case, those would be ethnic or racial things. Stereotypes, though, would be negative comments about a certain person based on the color of their skin would be a racial stereotype. So in the news recently, there was a racial stereotype that happened on Juneteenth, which is the day that all the slaves were freed, effectively. And so there was an internet meme where, or not a meme, I guess it went viral, so whatever that counts as, where they took a cake and they made that cake look like a watermelon because there's a racial stereotype that people of color, specifically black people, love watermelon. Now, that's not a particularly offensive thing to do, but nevertheless, any example of you using someone's skin to figure out alien, please stop. Or I don't know what I can do. I'll figure that out. So in any case, though, what they really mean is okay. What they really mean, though, is that you never want to base any prediction about somebody based on someone's skin color. So even if it's not the worst thing in the world, it's still horrible because you should never judge people by the color of their skin. So that's what a stereotype is. And a racial stereotype is one that has to do with their words. So another example of a racial stereotype is, which affects me, or rather is an ethnic stereotype. As a Jewish person, there's an ethnic stereotype that Jews are greedy. Now, if I was greedy, I wouldn't be a teacher. But that's effectively an example of this. Stop recommending punishments. What I was talking about was like maybe I can mute him. I'm not giving him a punishment. It's after hours. Okay. So, yeah, that was in the news during the summer. But in any case, so any type of stereotype is always offensive. Okay. So before I go, does anybody have any questions for me? And then I'm going to end by just strictly reading aloud the second text. I'm just going to read it out loud. I'm not going to do anything else because I think you know what the thing means because we went through it all together. So hopefully you know what it all means, but I'm going to read it out. But if you have any questions before I do that. Am I going to do another live? I don't know. Is this beneficial? What is the package? Oh, what is the packet? Packet, not package, Scarlett. So there's a quick article. It should take you about 5 minutes to read. You should have it. I think you have it in Spanish too. I think. If you don't, though, you can read it in English. You're good at that. Is there any other questions? So you had to, for homework, you have to read that quick little article in your history packet for lesson 16, 17. It's like a page and a half. It'll take you like no time at all. Don't worry about it too much. I'm not gonna like evaluate you on it today. It's just, it helps you get ready for your history test. Have I said the AI definition? I don't know what that means. Oh, portrayal. Portrayal means depiction of. So like the way someone looks, or in this case, showing something. So he was very good at African American portrayals, the portrayals of African American life, how African American life looked. He was good at showing. The AI video? Are you talking about the little song that Miss Barajas made? I didn't do that yet, but there is a video that I'll post tomorrow. You can look at it tomorrow. It's not important. It's not only going to do anything. Okay. Yeah. So Scarlett, it's in. So not page. It's on packet 1617 for history. I don't know what the page number is off the top of my head, but it's the only article. Miss Barajas made an AI created song to help you with your test. I didn't show anyone a song. Okay. I'm just going to read this last story, and then if you have a question, great, but I got to get out of here pretty soon. So, page 6. In 1800, Thomas Jefferson ran for president as a Republican against John Adams. Actually, hold on. I need to turn on the light. I can't see anything. Okay. All right. So, in 1800, Thomas Jefferson ran for president as a Republican against John Adams, a Federalist. During the election, Americans were greatly divided over politics. Jefferson won the election and became president in 1801. Everyone expected Thomas Jefferson to ride to his inauguration in a handsome coach drawn by fine horses. But Jefferson loved Republican simplicity. So again, Republican simplicity, the simpleness that the Republican Party liked. That's it. He was determined to show the people the pomp, fanciness, and ceremony he had criticized in the past were no longer part of the federal government. At noon, dressed like a plain citizen without any distinctive badge of office, which means dressed like anyone else who lives the country without any unique badges that would signify who he was. Jefferson left Conrad's boarding house, followed by several members of Congress, and walked the 2 blocks to the Capitol. He could, of course, do nothing about the huge crowd of thousands of ordinary citizens who had congregated in mass, who had swarmed in from Virginia and Maryland countryside to celebrate the great day. Distinctive means unique. Thank you, Brooklyn. Okay. An estimated 1,000 people jammed into the small chamber to hear Jefferson speak. His address was a masterful, really, really good appeal, strategy. In this case, it means strategy or manner of speaking to national unity. Stay on task. Inauguration, the celebration for a president's first day in office. Okay. And unity means togetherness, oneness. He called on Americans to unite with one heart and one mind. He reminded them that every difference of opinion is not a difference of principle. So just because we disagree about how we should do things, you could still agree on the main idea. Can you see my text? I can see what you're writing here. I'm not doing a room tour though. Okay. We have called by different names brothers or countrymen of the same principle. So, in other words, what they're saying is, regardless, where's the history packet? It's in there. It's in your. You had it. I'm not sure, be in your history folder. So when they say we have called by different names brethren of the same principle, what that means is we have called people from both who agree on the same principles, the same ideas, the same strong beliefs, different names, i.e., that is, the Federalists and the Republicans. So they might agree, we all agree on the same principles. We just disagree about how to get there. We are all Republicans. We are all Federalists. Humbly, he confessed that I shall often go wrong through defect of judgment, through mistake of judgment. So I shall often go wrong means I will make mistakes, through mistakes of judgment, through errors of judgment. And he asked that, quote, that infinite power which rules the destinies of the universe, i.e., God, to lead the nation's councils to, quote, what is best and give them a favorable issue for your peace and prosperity. Prosperity means success or wealth. And a council is a group of people who decide on things. In what he afterward called the Second American Revolution, Jefferson commenced to unite the nation. Thanks almost entirely to him, it was a peaceful change without a bayonet drawn or bullet fired. A new sense of hope pervaded the country. Pervade means to spread throughout. Bayonet is the type of weapon. Don't look that up on your school accounts. But it's a type of weapon with it's like a gun with a knife attached at the end. But you don't have to know that. Just know it's a weapon. This day, a new era commences, wrote Samuel Harrison Smith in the National Intelligencer, which is the name of the magazine, the newspaper. The new paper he had founded in the capital city at Jefferson's suggestion. Along with the power of his words, Jefferson used another tactic to reunite the country, a device, a strategy he had done much to invent, create for the first time, the political party. When he said, we are all Republicans, we are all Federalists, his purpose was not only to heal wounds, but to bring Federalists into the Republican Party. History has confirmed the brilliance of Jefferson's political insight. By firmly following the policy he laid out, he united the nation behind the Republican Party so completely that he created what James Madison, who is another founding father, later called the Republican ascendancy. So an ascendancy is a rise, ascendere in Spanish, rise, to go up. So the Republican rise. A political party, Joel, is the Republican and Democrats today, Republicans and Federalists, then the group of people who believe that that's how government should be run. So it's like a side. That's fine. And that's a functional definition for you. History has confirmed the brilliance of Jefferson's political insight. Insight means, so insight here means sight into, or literally seeing into something, but officially means knowledge or figuring things out. So his political way of figuring things out, that's not true. The things that he figured out politically is what they're saying is brilliant. So knowledge was what I said in class. By firmly following the policy he laid out, policy meaning, what's a founding father? That's a great question. One of the people that founded America, that created America. So Benjamin Franklin, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, they're all founding fathers. And if you're wondering why founding father, not founding parents, it's because there weren't very many founding women, unfortunately. Or rather, that's what history has said. That's not really true, but it's what history has kind of claimed for most of history. It's only recently that we've really gotten that to the point where we can figure that out. Okay. I don't know what's going on now, but Republican ascendancy means the Republican rise. So the Republicans rise to power. The Jeffersonians would hold the White House for 28 years, one of the longest consecutive rules by a single party in the history of the United States. So consecutive means in a row, so 28 years in a row, one of the longest times in power for a single party in a row in the history of America. Okay, it is 6 o'clock. I gotta get going. It is long. All right, does anyone have any last questions for me? Poll. I just put a poll out. Was this helpful? Yes or no? I put it as a poll, so click the buttons. No, I'm not giving you room to. You know the room looks like. Okay. Also, students, remind your families that next week is parent-teacher conferences. All right. I will, or sorry, not next week, the week after that, I think. I don't know. All right. I will see you tomorrow then. Peace out.